Namaskar. On the occasion of 75th anniversary of independence, the country is observing the Amrit Mahotsav of independence. The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign is part of this festival. Sansad TV appeals to you to join the celebration of independence by unfurling the tricolor in your house as well.
Har Ghar Tiranga, Har Ghar Tiranga, Har Ghar Tiranga, Har Ghar Tiranga. Ghar ghar Tiranga, Rath ghar Tiranga, Gharo ghari Tiranga, Pratyek ghari Tiranga.
With that patriotic spirit, good evening viewers. You're watching Sansad TV's live broadcast at 9 p.m. This is The News with me, Bhawna Nayar. Over the next 30 minutes, we bring you a roundup of all national and international news that you need to know. But first up, the top 5 headlines we are tracking this hour. Nitish Kumar sworn in as Bihar Chief Minister for 8th time. RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav takes oath as a minister. BJP holds protest in the state alleging betrayal of people's mandate. Political shortcuts cannot offer permanent solution to problems, asserts Prime Minister Modi. Inaugurates 2G ethanol plant in Panipat. Hopes it will cut down pollution caused by stubble burning in Delhi NCR. Justice Uday Umesh Lalit to take over as next Chief Justice of India on August 27th. President Draupadi Murmu to administer oath of office. Chief Justice N.V. Raman congratulates him on appointment. Security forces achieve big success in Jammu and Kashmir ahead of Independence Day. 3 Lashkar-E-Taiba terrorists shot dead in encounter in Budgam. 30 kilograms of explosives recovered in Pulwama. US President Joe Biden ratifies entry of Finland and Sweden into NATO amid Ukraine conflict. Asserts that coalition is more organized and stronger than before. And after those top headlines, a quick look now at some more important news of the day in our Flash News segment. Mortuary workers, street vendors, Anganwadi workers and Mudra scheme loanees invited as special guests for Independence Day celebrations. Centre releases over rupees 1,16,000 crore to states as 2 installments of tax devolution. Supreme Court grants bail to activist Varavara Rao in Bhima Koregaon case. Developed countries see India as an engine of growth, keen to sign trade deals with US. With us, asserts Union Minister Piyush Goyal. Election Commission to host virtual meet of Asian Regional Forum in New Delhi. President Draupadi Murmu pays tribute to former President V.V. Giri on his birth anniversary. Prime Minister Modi reshaped Indian foreign policy with national interest at its core, but in harmony with global good, says Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar. India calls for a coordinated and united response to global terrorism at UN, says there should be no double standards in dealing with terrorists. And tonight's lead story, JDU leader Nitish Kumar has been sworn in as Chief Minister of Bihar for the 8th time today. Governor Phagu Chauhan administered the oath of secrecy to Nitish Kumar. RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav was sworn in along with Nitish Kumar. The swearing-in was held the day after Nitish Kumar snapped ties with BJP, resigned as Chief Minister and staked claim to form a new government with support from RJD-led Mahagathbandhan. He submitted a list of 164 MLAs belonging to 7 parties including RJD, Congress, Hindustani Awam Morcha, left parties and 1 independent MLA.
जेडीयू को हराने ही की सब बात हो गई। सबसे पूछिए, हम तो तब तक कुछ नहीं, हम तो चाहते भी नहीं थे बनना, लेकिन हमको लोगों के मान लिया अब, लेकिन अब जो पार्टी के सब लोगों से बात होती रहती है, सबके मन में था नहीं, तो फिर हम लोग चले गए अपना पुरानी जगह पर। अब ठीक है।
The BJP staged a massive protest against the betrayal of JDU chief and Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. BJP MLAs and MPs from Bihar took part in the Mahadharna in front of the party's office at Birchand Patel Marg. The party members shouted slogans against the Bihar Chief Minister, calling his move a betrayal of people's mandate. The leaders announced that they will hold agitations at district and block levels against Nitish Kumar later this week.
आपके पार्टी के विरोध के बावजूद आपके नाम का ऐलान किया और आपको मुख्यमंत्री बनाया, उस पार्टी को आपने धोखा दे दिया। और देखिए मित्रों, ये जो विश्वासघात है, ये केवल बिहार की जनता के साथ विश्वासघात नहीं है। इसलिए मैंने कहा कि लालू जी ने कहा था, पलटू राम बीजेपी ने नहीं कहा था। इसलिए ये कल राष्ट्रीय जनता दल को भी धोखा दे सकते हैं। इसलिए राजद के नेताओं को भी और सावधान रहने की आवश्यकता है।
Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicated the second-generation ethanol plant in Haryana's Panipat to the nation on World Biofuel Day today. Addressing the gathering via video conferencing, Prime Minister Modi said that biofuel is synonymous to protecting the nature. He added that 2G ethanol plant will boost production and usage of biofuels in the country and will minimize pollution levels in Delhi, NCR and Haryana. Prime Minister Modi also said that politics of shortcuts can never solve the problems permanently and freebies will only prevent the country from being self-reliant. He announced that in the next few years, more than 75% of the households in the country will get piped gas.
उज्ज्वला योजना से ही 9 करोड़ से ज्यादा गैस कनेक्शन गरीब बहनों को दिए जा चुके हैं। अब हम देश में करीब करीब 100% एलपीजी कवरेज तक पहुंच चुके हैं। 14 करोड़ से बढ़कर आज देश में करीब 31 करोड़ गैस कनेक्शन है। इससे हमारे गरीब परिवार, मध्यम वर्ग के लोगों को बहुत ज्यादा सुविधा हुई है।
In another event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that our national flag is a reflection of the pride of our past, the commitment of our present, and the dreams of the future. Addressing the Tiranga Rally in Surat via video conferencing, Prime Minister Modi said that the nation is preparing for the historic day the tricolour would be hoisted in every corner of India. Wishing everyone on the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, Prime Minister Modi said that our national flag has been a symbol of India's textile industry, khadi, and our self-reliance. He said that campaigns like Har Ghar Tiranga will strengthen the foundation of New India.
भारत ने स्वाधीनता संग्राम के इतिहास में गुजरात के गौरवशाली योगदान का अपना एक अलग ही स्वर्णिम अध्याय लिखा है। गुजरात ने बापू के रूप में आजादी की लड़ाई को नेतृत्व दिया। गुजरात ने लौह पुरुष सरदार पटेल जी से नायक दिए, जिन्होंने आजादी के बाद एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत की बुनियाद रची। बारडोली आंदोलन और दांडी यात्रा से निकले संदेश ने पूरे देश को एकजुट कर दिया था।
Justice Uday Umesh Lalit has been appointed as the 49th Chief Justice of India today. He has been appointed by President Draupadi Murmu. He will assume charge on 27th August after incumbent N.V. Raman demits office the day before. Justice Lalit will have a brief tenure of less than 3 months. He will turn 65 on 8th November when he demits office. In a major breakthrough for security forces, 3 Lashkar-E-Taiba terrorists were killed in an encounter in Jammu and Kashmir, Budgam district today. The security forces had launched a cordon and search operation following inputs about the presence of terrorists in the Khan Sahib area of the district. The search turned into an encounter after the terrorists opened fire. All 3 bodies have been recovered from the site along with arms and ammunition. Security forces also averted a major tragedy by recovering a 30-kilogram improvised explosive device IED in Pulwama district of Jammu and Kashmir. The IED was recovered after a specific input generated by the Pulwama police. Now let's take a look at some more stories that are making news across the nation. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla met Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan in Delhi and briefed him about the monsoon session. They also had a discussion on various other topics. The chairman of Rajya Sabha and Vice President of India, M. Venkaiah Naidu, today met with the employees of Rajya Sabha and conveyed his best wishes. He also planted saplings in front lawn of Parliament House complex on this occasion. The Union Home Ministry has appealed to the states and union territories to encourage people for the Har Ghar Tiranga Abhiyan. As part of the campaign, people have been urged to put up the national flag at their homes. The ceiling on domestic airfare fares will be removed from August 31 after a gap of about 27 months. According to the Union Aviation Ministry, this decision has been taken after analyzing the prices of aircraft fuel. The central government has approved the administration of a booster dose of Corbevax vaccine to adults who have received 2 doses of the Covishield and Covaxin. Gati Shakti units have been constituted in all the 4 divisions of North Western Railway. The objective of this initiative is to expedite the process of completion of development and infrastructure projects of the railways in the zone. Assam government inaugurated the first drone school in the northeast. Under the ambitious scheme of the central government, the first pilot training school has been opened in northeast Assam. 16,047 new COVID-19 cases has been reported in the last 24 hours. The number of patients under treatment has come down to 1,28,261. And now, news from the world of business and economy. Indigo Airlines announced the launch of direct daily flights between Mumbai and Ras Al Khaimah in the UAE from 22nd September. This will be the 26th international and 100th overall destination on the Indigo network. In a step towards promoting the welfare of tea garden workers, Assam government hiked the daily wages of workers in Barag and Brahmaputra Valley. Chief Minister Himmat Biswa Sarna said that all garden workers will also be eligible for ration cards and other benefits. The RBI issued guidelines outlining strict norms to curb rising malpractice in digital space. The RBI said digital loans must be credited directly in the bank accounts of borrowers and not through any third party. The rules aims to check unfair business conduct, charging of exorbitant interest rates, among other unethical practices. And now talking about the Sensex, at the end of the volatile trading session, the BSE Sensex ended 35 points lower to close to 58,817, while the NSE gained 9 points to settle at 17,534 points. IT and realty stocks were among top losers, while stocks in the metals and capital goods segment remained steady with marginal gains. And now talking about global markets, meanwhile, it was a red day for Asian markets as most stocks slipped with losses between 1 to 2%. On the other side of the globe, European and US stocks maintained momentum with Nasdaq jumping by 2.11%. And now news related to monsoon in the nation. In Madhya Pradesh, heavy rains in Indore flooded low-lying settlements. Many cars were washed away due to the strong current. Several roads were submerged in water. Authorities have declared school holidays in many parts of the state. Many rivers and ponds are overflowing and the settlements adjacent to them are being monitored. Monsoon rains also disrupted life in Rajasthan. The weather department has predicted rains in the next week as well. In the last 24 hours, 120 millimeters of rain was recorded as in Banswara. According to the weather department, another low-pressure area is located over the Gulf of Saurashtra and adjoining Arabian Sea. The meteorological department issued a warning of heavy rain in many areas. In Andhra Pradesh now, many rivers including Godavari are in spate due to heavy rains. The water has crossed the first danger mark at Sir Arthur Cotton Barrage at Dhavaleshwaram. The situation in Alluri Sitarama Raju district has worsened due to last month's floods, and severe floods are expected there once again. The water flow in the river has crossed the mark of 10 lakh cusecs, due to which an alert has been issued for the low-lying areas. We are slipping into a very short break, but on the other side, Biden administration says no heads up from the FBI on searches conducted at Trump's residence. All this and much more on the other side. You stay tuned to Sansad TV for more news. Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news in time now for all the major developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. 13 people have been killed in Russian shelling in the Nikopol area in the Ukraine's central eastern Dnipropetrovsk region. The small town in Mahanez was worst hit with 20 multi-story buildings damaged, including 2 schools, a dormitory and a cultural center. The area that came under attack is not far from the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, which has been shelled several times in the past few days. The head of Ukraine's state nuclear power firm warned of the very high risk of the shelling at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in the Russian-occupied south. Energoatom's chief, Petro Kotin, said that it was vital that Ukrainian forces regain control over the facility in time for winter. He stated that last week's Russian shelling had damaged 3 lines that connect the Zaporizhzhia plant to the Ukrainian grid. Both Ukraine and Russia have accused each other of shelling the site of Europe's biggest nuclear power plant. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the war started with Russia's occupation of the Crimean Peninsula and should end with the liberation of Crimea. His remarks came on the day when powerful explosions rocked a Russian airbase in Crimea. At least 1 person was killed and several others were wounded in the attack. Moscow said the explosions were detonations of stored ammunition, not the result of any attack. A European Union ban on Russian coal imports is set to come into effect from midnight. The member states will not be allowed to import any more coal from Russia as the transitional period for the bloc's embargo is coming to an end. The 120-day transitional period was part of the 5th sanctions package agreed by the EU in April and will be in full force from Thursday onwards. The European Commission said in April that the coal embargo would cost Russia around $8 billion annually. Moving on, volunteers are keeping Ukraine's cultural heritage safe by scanning significant buildings and monuments. Their images are transformed into 3D digital models which are stored in the cloud safe from Russian bombs. Here's a report.
Buildings lie in ruins, mangled beyond recognition by the Russian bombs in Ukraine. UNESCO says at least 70 religious sites, 13 museums, 33 historic buildings and 17 monuments have been damaged in the war. But all is not lost. Volunteers are busy saving Ukraine's rich cultural heritage by documenting important sites under a digital project, Backup Ukraine. Launched in April, the project is backed by Denmark's National UNESCO Committee and Blue Shield, an international organization that aims to protect cultural heritage from threats such as armed conflicts or natural disasters.
We are reaching out now to everyone, potentially everyone with a mobile phone, and they can help protect their own cultural heritage. Not only the big monuments and what you have in the museums, but also what you find being important cultural heritage. And that is a completely game changer in this conflict.
The technology is powered by a 3D scanning mobile app that uses LiDAR technology to create a detailed 3-dimensional model. All the processing is done in the cloud and every scan tagged to a Ukrainian location is automatically saved to a database.
It can be used as a reference for reconstruction, it can be used as a casting form, and it can also just be used as a form of documentation, like as a form of preservation that is technically will last forever. Because let's remember, even the things behind us has lasted thousands of years already, but nothing in the physical world lasts forever.
The app has recorded over 6,000 downloads so far. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Time now for some other global updates. The White House on Tuesday claimed that neither President Joe Biden nor anyone at the White House was given a heads up about the FBI search of former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence. Reporters at a White House news conference said that they first learned of the search from public media reports and the White House had not been briefed in the run-up or aftermath. Here's a report.
Republicans in the US Congress said they are initiating an investigation into the FBI's actions for a search they did at one of former President Donald Trump's properties in Florida on Monday. Agents searched Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, that is also a private club, as part of a federal investigation into whether the former president took classified records from the White House to his Florida residence, people familiar with the matter said. It marked a dramatic escalation of law enforcement scrutiny of Trump, who faces an array of inquiries tied to his conduct in the dying days of his administration. Trump and his allies quickly sought to cast the search as a weaponization of the criminal justice system and a Democratic-driven effort to keep him from winning another term in 2024. Insisting that it had no prior knowledge of the searches, the White House pointed out that current FBI Director Christopher Wray was appointed by Trump 5 years ago. Biden wanted the Attorney General to explain publicly the rationale for the search amid the concerns about politicization of the probe. Biden himself was dealing with some residual COVID symptoms. In recent public appearances, he has been coughing heavily several times during his remarks and apologizing at one point for doing so. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And moving on, US President Joe Biden on Tuesday signed a $280 billion bipartisan bill to boost domestic high-tech manufacturing. It is part of the US administration's push to boost the country's competitiveness over China. Take a look at this report.
Flanked by scores of lawmakers, union officials, local politicians and business leaders, Biden welcomed the legislation. The new law is a core part of his economic agenda that will incentivize investments in the American semiconductor industry and US reliance on overseas supply chains for critical cutting-edge goods. The legislation sets aside $52 billion specifically to bolster the US computer chip sector. The bill has been more than a year in the making, but finally cleared both chambers of Congress late last month with significant bipartisan margins. The White House has repeatedly portrayed this legislation as a critical component in countering the influence of a rising China and ensure that the US can maintain a competitive edge against Beijing, particularly in semiconductor manufacturing. Biden called the bill a once-in-a-generation investment in America itself. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And now news from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka Supreme Court has extended the overseas travel ban on former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and his younger brother and former Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa. The ban has been extended till 5th of September. On 1st of August, Sri Lanka's apex court had extended their overseas travel ban until 4th of August. This was in response to a petition seeking investigation against the people responsible for the current economic crisis. On August 3rd, the Supreme Court again extended the ban till August 11th. However, the former Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa continues to stay in Singapore. He had fled the country during a popular uprising against his government. He has been issued a new visa by Singapore, extending his stay in the country till August 11th. And more stories from around the globe in our Global Wrap segment. Foreign ministers of Thailand and Malaysia met in Bangkok seeking to boost economic cooperation between the two nations. Malaysia's Foreign Minister Saifuddin Abdullah suggested speeding up the transport infrastructure projects between the two neighbors. Both countries aim to reach a trade target of $30 billion by 2025. President Joe Biden signed the instruments of ratification that provides United States consent to welcome Finland and Sweden into NATO alliance. US formal backing of the Nordic nations entering the Mutual Defence Pact is a part of reshaping the European security posture after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. While signing the ratification, Biden reaffirmed NATO's commitment that an attack against one is an attack against all. Libya celebrated the 82nd anniversary of the founding of its army with a military parade in the capital Tripoli. The Chief of Staff of Army, Lieutenant General Mohammed Al-Haddad, addressed the event and in his speech stressed the need for unity to confront the challenges facing Libya. A similar parade was held by the rival government in the city of Misrata. SpaceX launched a new batch of satellites from its launch site in Florida. The star of the SpaceX fleet, Falcon 9 rocket, transported the 52 Starlink satellites that are to be added to the company's internet constellation. After the launch of the satellites into the orbits, rocket's first stage successfully came down to Earth for a landing on a SpaceX drone ship that was located off the coast of Florida. SpaceX has over 3,000 Starlink internet satellites in the orbit. The first of a new freight train service that will ship goods from northwest China to Iran was launched from Jian International Port Station. The train set off and left the country through Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. The goods it is carrying will be loaded onto freight vessel at Aktau port in Kazakhstan before being sent to Iran's Enzeli port. The authorities disclosed that the train is loaded with 50 containers of auto parts worth about 1.23 million euros. And news from the world of sports. Indian batter Surya Kumar Yadav held on to the second position while Shreyas Iyer moved up 6 places to 19th in the latest ICC T20 rankings. Yadav has 805 points in the batting list headed by Pakistan's Babar Azam. New Zealand Cricket has confirmed that it has agreed to release pacer Trent Boult from his central contract so that he can spend more time with his family. Australia women captain Meg Lanning, who recently led the team to the gold medal in the Commonwealth Games, is taking an indefinite break from cricket, announced Cricket Australia today. Nick Kyrgios let an early lead slip but regrouped from Tuesday for a 6-4, 6-4 first-round victory over Sebastian Baez at the ATP Montreal Masters. Kyrgios next faces world number 1 Daniil Medvedev. Treble Grand Slam winner Britain's Andy Murray was cut off in the first round of Montreal Masters. Murray lost 1-6, 3-6 to America's Taylor Fritz. And that's a wrap of today's Bulletin The News. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more programs on Sansad TV. Till then, goodbye. Namaskar.